Hi everyone, it is Keto Karen. So in today's video, I am going to talk about the keto fat whoosh. So our bodies are very complicated, so it's a little hard to explain. So I'm just going to explain a few different things on how the body works and see if this makes more sense on why our body would do this and how exactly it works. So, most people are using carbohydrates or glucose, which is sugar, for energy. So when we eat carbohydrates, breads, pastas, cereals, chocolate bars, orange juice, any of those things, our body converts it into glucose for energy. And when we don't want our blood sugars too high, so when our blood sugars get too high, our pancreas will make insulin, which is a fat storage hormone, to store that extra sugar, that extra glucose for energy for later, because right now we have too much energy. So it keeps storing it in the fat cells. And our fat cells, we are born with a number of fat cells. If our fat cells get too full, so think of it like a suitcase, if the suitcase gets too full, our bodies can produce more fat cells. But when we start losing weight, we don't actually lose fat cells. They actually just start shrinking and kind of going flat. But it does mean that as soon as we eat, it's very easy to store again because we have those fat cells. So it is a problem with actually consuming too much carbohydrates over the years, because your body will start making more and more fat cells and it'll be easier to store more fat. So we don't ever lose those fat cells. They do shrink down and they can collapse, but they're still there. So that's typically our fat cells. That most of us are running on carbohydrates. When we switch over to a ketogenic diet, and I'll put in a tag in here in case you don't know exactly what keto is, I have a video on what the ketogenic diet is. When you switch over to that and you stop using sugar for energy, we start using fat for energy, we'll start losing weight because we're using fat for energy, so it's going to take some of that out. And also, we're not going to have as much insulin present, so we won't be storing the sugar for later, because we'll be limiting the amount of sugars that we're using, and it should be the amount of sugars that our muscles need as opposed to storing it. So I hope this can make sense. Once we get into the ketogenic style, we should be losing weight. Sometimes people will be working really hard, they've got their macros, they're drinking all their water, they're doing everything possible, except the scale isn't moving. Well, the scale is a really poor measurement of fat loss. What sometimes happens with our bodies is we have our fat cells. So picture this is our fat cell. And our fat cells want to protect ourselves. It thinks like, you know what, we're soon going to get some more glucose to store. We're using the fat out of the cell because we're in ketosis. But we don't want to start shrinking and collapsing yet, because he or she, whoever's eating, is going to soon give me the insulin and glucose to store. So it doesn't want to collapse. So what it does is it pulls out the fat and uses that for energy, except it starts holding and retaining the water that you're drinking. And it'll take some time before the body realizes that, I am safe, I've got lots of fat and we're still fueling with fat, so I can actually let go of this water. So if you don't stick with it long enough, sometimes I've seen people literally not lose any weight for 3, 4, and 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden the scale moves like 8 pounds. It's not that they lost 8 pounds of fat in that one day. It's that their body finally started letting go of some of the water. They lost that 8 pounds over the 4 or 5 weeks. It's just that the body was retaining water, the same amount, for that 4 or 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden when the body realized that it was safe and secure and it could let go, it started letting go of that water. And so then the fat cells, instead of being big, started slowly going out and letting that water whoosh. So that's why it's called the water whoosh, because all of a sudden people will just drop 5, 8 pounds where they haven't seen the scale move at all. And this can happen throughout your whole ketogenic journey. So you can plateau again because your body, just think about it, your body's just like, I don't know, what's going on. You've changed my diet so many different times. A lot of people have, done like a lot of different extreme dieting, really starving yourself, which is really bad on your metabolism when you really try to calorie restrict. And doing different things. So your body's always in protection mode, so it doesn't know. So you just have to stick with it long enough. And I have seen so many people give up and say it's not working. They're doing everything right, and they give up at 3 or 4 weeks. And I know that if they would have just stuck with it, let their hormones work through, let the fat cells figure out that it is safe, and to let the water go, that they would see those results. So you have to trust the process. You have to really understand how your body's working. But it does happen, and you can look it up. You can look up water whoosh. There's tons of nurses and doctors who speak on this. But you have to trust the process. No matter, I honestly hate the scale. So, Dr. Adam Nally, I love it. He always says, give the scale to someone you don't like. Give it to the neighbor you don't like. Because it's not a good, accurate measure of realistically what you are against gravity, right? So you could just be more water. You could have definitely lost fat. You could have gained muscle, right? So if your journey is on losing weight with keto, I really recommend being patient, not stressing. If you stress about the scale, stress about your macros, stress about everything, your body's gonna create a lot of cortisol. Cortisol is going to make you halt all fat loss. It completely will stop your fat loss. So there's a bunch of different things going on, but just, so like learn to breathe, learn to drink lots of water, trust the process. This does work, but you do have to sometimes play with different things, and you do have to be patient. So I hope that helps. And honestly, keto on. And if you have any questions, comment below. If you have any ideas of any other videos you'd like to see, comment below. As always, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. And also there's a little bell there. If you click the bell, it will actually give you notifications every time a new video is uploaded. So hope this helps, and talk to you soon. Thanks.